Interesting combination of topics there, and thank you to Amy Lerner for her work and support with those projects. She's been an advisor several times for us and always does a really, really excellent job, and we're grateful for that. As somebody who has spent many, many, many hours working in restaurants and waiting tables, I do have one recommendation in terms of food waste that I thought was valuable. When employees were happy and well paid and managers were nice, I happened to observe that there just happened to be less food waste. People were all on the same team and wanted to save the company money and act more responsibly. So I think there are, in addition to all these policy considerations, just lots of opportunities for just following that golden rule and having like nice comity in our society, and that's accretive to reducing emissions, as is reducing inequality. But I don't want to get along that road right now. But important topic, and I think something we all interact with a lot, but maybe don't think about expressly. Our next presenter, proud to say, is atmospheric science degree. Interesting degree to get. You really have to be, interested in stuff you can't see, how air moves around and, water changes state, and you have to find that really interesting. And did a project with a former TA of mine and an alumni as her chair related to education, where she got to spend time in the classroom, which is something that I did in both 2018 and 2019. The 2018 went extremely well. The 2019, I got razzed a little bit by the eighth graders, but Autumn really did a nice job across the board in this program, and I'm so glad she chose an education-related capstone, and proud that she had a chair that was former TA and a proud alumni of this program. Improving climate literacy in the classroom, using place-based education and evaluation of the climate-safe neighborhood redesign unit at Millennial Tech Middle School. Autumn Vandehey, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Okay. Okay, here we are. Okay, hi everyone. So my project was on improving climate literacy in the classroom using place-based learning. For this project, I did an evaluation of a climate change unit at a Millennial Tech Middle School. So some of the things I'm going to go over in this presentation, I'm going to talk about why this project matters, some of the partnerships and stakeholders I worked with, what different types of teaching strategies were used, the unit itself, my data collection methods, key findings, and lastly, my reflections and implications. So why does this project matter? I don't know if you guys know this, but climate change is a really important issue that's impacting us right now. And students, our current students in classrooms, are the future problem solvers and decision makers. So it's crucial that they learn about climate change and also the skills that they need to solve this global problem. So during this evaluation, I asked, does this unit improve students' climate knowledge, and also does it change their attitudes towards climate change? Because it's just one thing for these kids to know about climate change and what it is, it's another thing to understand it and how they feel about it. And are they hopeful about it? Are they scared of climate change? Do they feel empowered to take action? So these are the two things I really looked at when doing this project. And youth need to understand that they can make a difference. So that was a really important part of this project, was having kids involved in being part of the solution. And they need to learn that they can do these climate solutions, they can act on it now. It doesn't just start when they're older, it can start now, and they can feel empowered to act. So the Climate Safe Neighborhood Redesign Unit was made possible by the partnership between UCSD Center on Global Justice, Groundwork San Diego, and Millennial Tech Middle School. UCSD Earth Lab is a 4-acre environmental learning center at Millennial Tech Middle School. It's this outdoor space that the kids can go out into and learn and interact with nature. It's in partnership with, as I said, UCSD Center on Global Justice, It's designed to provide experiential education to the youth that live there and also the families of the Troyes Creek watershed. The Troyes Creek watershed is this region on the map here that's more inland San Diego, and it's this big region that has a lot of interconnecting creeks and rivers, and it supports hands-on learning and climate science engagement. So Groundwork is one of the other organizations I mentioned. Groundwork San Diego is a local nonprofit which is dedicated to climate action and education. So they lead the Earth Lab education program. As you can see on the picture over here, this is Earth Lab, and this is one of the educators, Allie, leading one of the groups in a lesson. They integrate the academic standards with lots of different types of strategies for teaching, but the ones I'm going to be focusing on is place-based and project-based learning. And they teach K through 12 students about climate science and also how to take climate action. So for my partnership with Earth Lab and Groundwork, I teamed up with them to evaluate the Climate Safe Neighborhood Redesign Unit, which was the climate change unit that we taught to these kids over the course of 7 weeks. I acted as a mentor observer in the classroom, so I was with the kids interacting, working one-on-one with the students, kind of helping them out with activities. So as you can see here, that's me helping a student on her notebook. I actually brought a notebook with me as a visual aid. So this is the notebook that the kids worked on during their time with this unit. So I helped them with activities, also doing experiments. We were outside a lot, so it's very important to have adults around to help lead these activities and work with the kids. And I was also an observer because I was conducting an evaluation. So I was working as an observer. I was taking field notes, sometimes in the classroom. Usually I would wait till I was outside the classroom to take my notes. And I also co-taught one of the lessons with the teacher, Mr. Plummer, about how to canvas to the community. So we were teaching the kids about how to talk to the community members, ask them how they want to see their community improved, because that's a very important part of making a community more climate resilient, is taking community input. So one of the teaching strategies that I focused on was place-based education. So as in the name, it's learning rooted in students' local community and environment. So in the sense of climate change, we were teaching kids about how climate change is impacting San Diego. And it helps make these academic concepts more relevant and also actionable to the students, because the students see that it's happening in their community. And they think, oh, this is happening here, this is impacting me, so I care about this. I care about how climate change is impacting San Diego, my backyard. And it also enhances engagement and retention. Students are more interested in it. There's lots of chances to be able to go outside and do more exploratory learning. So it's just a very fun way to learn, an engaging way to learn about a heavy topic like climate change. Project-based learning is the other aspect of it. Project-based learning is where students engage in an extended inquiry around a real-world question. So they're actually involved on a project that maybe adults would be working on in the real world. And it emphasizes creativity, collaboration, problem solving, all crucial skills for these students to learn as they grow up and go out into the world. And it encourages action and solution-oriented thinking. So overall, project-based learning is a very important part of this unit. It was one of the main parts of this unit. So the unit itself. So this unit was a 7-week curriculum around climate science and climate change. The first 3 weeks really focused on building climate literacy. So they did a lot of interactive activities, learning about how greenhouse gases are causing climate change, are causing the globe to warm. Also the impacts that are happening because of that in San Diego, so like more flooding events, more heat waves. Also doing outdoor lessons at Earth Lab. So in this picture right here, we can see the kids doing a permeability experiment. So they poured water on concrete and they observed, does the concrete soak it up? Does it stay there? They noticed that the water stays on the concrete, so that would induce flooding. So I was kind of teaching them how concrete is more prone to flooding and creating flooding events. And the last 4 weeks of the unit focused on climate solutions. And so students took what they learned, they took community input to build a climate-safe model of the neighborhood. So on the right-hand side here, you can see this is a section of the neighborhood. They actually built it. They built all these little houses and little creeks, and they added solar panels and windmills and permeable pavement and green spaces and trees, all things to help with like heat waves and flooding and reducing greenhouse gas emissions from electricity usage. So it was very fun, very interactive. And at the end of it, they got to present this final model to their friends and family at the end of year showcase. So for my data collection, I did a mixed methods approach, both quantitative and qualitative. So I did surveys, pre and post survey. I did student interviews, and of course, classroom observations was where I got most of my data from. So for my findings, the first key finding was students were most engaged in the project-based learning aspect. They really loved redesigning the neighborhood. They loved the arts and crafts. They loved working together and being collaborative and problem solving. So they really liked redesigning the neighborhood the most. As this one quote that I like up above, I ain't gonna lie, I love the project that we did because I really learned a lot about climate and stuff, all that, and how we got to build. So it warms my heart to know that this student learned about climate and stuff, but also that they got to build and got to be creative. So key finding number 2 is that this type of learning, project-based learning, really helped the students feel empowered to create change. They felt like they had a voice in their community. I had a lot of students voicing to me, they're like, oh, I feel like I can make a difference, and there is a point to this, and we can help. Some students expressed new hope about climate change, while there was a lot of climate anxiety expressed. A lot of students, maybe not a lot, but a small portion of students took this and realized that they could do something about it. And doing the project-based learning and redesigning their neighborhood, they realized they could make a difference. So I like this quote here too. I feel like this also gave us a chance to share our ideas, work together to build. So not just when we're older, but also now we can start thinking of solutions and trying to make an impact to change the community to make it better when it comes to climate change. And I really like this quote from a student because it really showed that they realized that this was a big global problem and it's not going to be one person who's going to solve it. It's going to be all of us working together. And that's not something I realized until probably recently in my undergraduate degree. So I think it's really cool these kids are learning this stuff now. And as I discussed before, climate anxiety was a thing that came up a lot, especially in interviews, mostly because I was asking about it. I was asking kids like what they were concerned about when it came to climate change. They shared a lot of worries and fears about climate change impacting their home, impacting the places they loved, like Earth Lab and the local parks and their homes. They felt overwhelmed by the magnitude of the problem. However, many used this emotion as a motivation to act. They felt like they could make a difference. As one student said, quote, "I think that this is a good project to inform younger students so they can know what we can do to stop climate change and work to stop it together instead of one person trying to do it alone." So I think that's once again showing that like it's not just one person, it's a big problem that we're all working on together. So for my quantitative survey results, these are the results from my survey. I did knowledge-based questions and also attitude-based questions. So the knowledge was trying to figure out what did they learn about climate change, and attitude was how did they feel about it. And also, how empowered do they feel to act on it? So there was an increase in knowledge of mitigation and adaptation solutions overall. Students really learned a lot about the solutions, and that makes sense because we focus on that the most. There was 4 weeks of like working solely on climate solutions. There was an increased awareness that climate change impacts their local environment, that it's impacting San Diego. There was already a good amount of students who already understood that climate change was impacting San Diego, but that even increased more after the unit. And more students felt confident in taking climate action, which is great to see because that was the whole point of this project. So why does this type of learning matter? So place-based learning, its local relevance increases student investment in the problem. And so they actually care about it because it's happening to them. Project-based learning encourages critical thinking and agency. Once again, these are skills that are very important for students to know, for kids to learn. It also helps combat climate anxiety, as we saw in my results. The kids feel like they actually have. So there's something they can do about it. They can take this anxiety and put it towards positive emotions. And it also helps students feel part of the solution. They really felt like they were doing something. In this picture here, you can see that this is a picture of the community garden that some students built on their section of the neighborhood, and I think that's just really cool. And they really got into it, and they loved it a lot. So implications for climate education. So these types of programs like Earth Lab and Groundwork that do these types of project-based and place-based learning is very crucial for meaningful learning and education. These real-world types of projects really empower students to care and act on climate change, which is what we need for the future. And integrating the community strengthens both the students' knowledge and their emotional investment, and I think it goes the other way too. The community is helping the students, but also the students are helping the community, and I think it's really wonderful that this project, the kids got to do that, and they got to actually connect with their neighborhood more. And I think it's going to really help them in their futures. Even if they don't go into climate change necessarily, climate change is impacting everyone, so it's important to know about. So some of my personal reflections. I loved this project so much. I'm so glad and thankful I had the opportunity to do this. I really learned about how the students connect emotionally and intellectually with climate issues and climate change. I saw how education can build hope, resilience, and knowledge, how they learned so much. And even if a lot of students were still kind of struggling with the drivers of climate change, so that how humans were causing climate change was still a little bit iffy sometimes with students, but I think it's important to note that they understood that that this is a problem that's an important topic to be concerned about, to think about, and also that it's a topic that we can actually work on together and have solutions for. And so I think I grew as a mentor and also a future climate communicator, also maybe an educator. I could definitely see myself going into climate education in the future. And overall, I had such an amazing time working with these sixth graders. They were just such a wonderful bunch of kids that welcomed me into their classroom, and they were so just happy and just such a great group of kids. So I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I just want to say thank you to everyone who helped me during this project, my capstone advisory committee, so my chair, Amy Knight, for helping me, for inviting me into this project. She was the one who invited me into the project and to work with Earth Lab and UCSD Center on Global Justice, and I'm just so happy to have had that experience. Also, Dr. Cheryl Peach, who is my advisor, she was the one who put me in contact with Amy and then gave me a lot of ideas. And Dr. Megan Hopkins, who I took her class on qualitative education research this quarter, and I learned so much about how to do qualitative research for this evaluation, and she was so helpful and gave so much great feedback. Also to Allie McCarthy, she's an educator at Groundwork, for just helping me with all the logistics and planning for doing the surveys and working with the kids and doing student interviews. And at Millennial Tech Middle School, Mr. Plummer, who is a sixth grade teacher who I worked with, and also, of course, all the wonderful sixth graders at Millennial Tech Middle School. They're all awesome, and I hope to see them in the future again at some point. So yeah, any questions?
Thank you, Autumn. That was such a fantastic presentation and just such incredible work and such a really cool project. So I appreciate you sharing it with us. My question is, do you have any plans to adapt the unit that you worked on or scale it up for other schools in San Diego County or California or perhaps nationwide?
I do not have any plans for that, but I'm hoping this evaluation can help with plans for that. They're going to be doing this unit again next year at the middle school, and so I'm hoping this will help improve the unit even more for next year. And then also, if other schools in the San Diego School District want to take on this project, I think that this evaluation will help them know how to make their climate change unit the best it can be. So I'm just excited to see where it goes. I'm excited to see where this unit goes. This is only the second year they've done this unit in this sixth grade classroom, so I'm excited to see how it improves over the next couple of years. So yeah.
Hi, Autumn.
Hi.
Amazing job. I was just curious, does Earth Lab have a specific age group that they target with these climate change units, or does it sort of differ? Do they do it across grade levels, but just differently? Just looking for your input.
Well, since Earth Lab is right next to the middle school, all the middle schoolers do something at Earth Lab. They always are collaborating with Earth Lab and doing stuff out there. They do after school activities too. So definitely 6th through 8th graders are at Earth Lab a lot. But then they also bring in elementary school students from the district to come into Earth Lab. Maybe high schoolers. I think high schoolers have definitely probably toured it. But yeah, they bring other K through 12 kids in to tour Earth Lab and do activities. Yeah. We got another one.
Thank you. Anyways, your project was very enlightening, and I can understand the kids' reactions to you there. So, is the Earth Lab project fairly new?
Fairly new. I'm actually not sure. It's definitely been around for a little while. I know like Amy Knight would know more. She's in the back there, but she knows more about Earth Lab than I would. But it was designed and implemented by people at UCSD Center of Global Justice.
I see. That's
Yeah.
where it originated,
Yeah.
basically. I
Yeah.
see. This would be nice to see it get spread across many other districts and even in other states.
Yeah, definitely.
I can see kids, even as young as elementary to high school, just to get out of the class and
Yeah.
not sit in the classroom
Yeah.
and be out doing something like this would be very enlightening.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think this would, kids would really take to it. And from your project, it looks like they really did.
No, they did. Yeah, they loved being outside. There wasn't a lot of like indoor lecture, like traditional lecture learning. It was only like a small percentage of the time in the classroom that they did that. Most of it was outside or working on the project itself. Even if that was in the classroom, they were still like getting up, moving around, working with their hands. So it was just great to see. And I think that really made the kids more involved. And they actually, yeah.
It really seemed to. And the fact that the group problem solving is really a cool thing that
Yeah.
applies later, of course, in careers and so forth, but at a very young level. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you.
Great project.
Thank you.
Thanks, that's everything.